Today on Homeworthy, we're stepping inside a breathtaking Queen Anne Victorian in Kentucky that seamlessly marries historic charm with contemporary family living. Clinical psychologist Zane Platt-Faulkner was first captivated by the home's striking exterior.
I look at this house, it was all lit up, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the most beautiful house I have ever seen.
After writing a heartfelt letter to the owner, he and his husband discovered that the beautifully preserved interiors were even more enchanting, sealing the deal on their dream home. Now shared with their one-year-old son, the house reflects Zane's deep passion for historic design. From dazzling stained glass windows.
This was actually one of the pieces that was sold a few owners ago that was tracked down and brought back into the home. So I am so grateful that she has found her way back into this home.
To a show-stopping dining room perfect for family gatherings.
These are hand painted with 24 karat gold, and it was actually featured on the set of Downton Abbey. We do use them frequently and we have guests over.
This Victorian gem is as rich in history as it is in heart. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Zane. Welcome to our historic home in Kentucky. Let me show you around. So welcome to our entryway. This was one of the first things that really captivated me about the house. I think it was really meant to impress, which is this staircase here with all the lovely, just intricate carvings here, and these two newel post lamps, which are absolutely incredible. I had someone actually come and look at these, and they're dated somewhere between 1880 and 1910-ish, so I'm not exactly sure how long they've been with the home, but likely a very long time. These are actually made in Paris, and they have little stamps on the back that says fabricated in Paris, which I think is really cool. And the artist inscriptions are also on them as well. So these are really special to me. I think really a showstopper. We had an electrician actually come and do some other work in the house, and he made a comment about like, oh, I can't believe we've got these like lamps in here, and so he was immediately fired. No, I'm kidding. But these are just two of my favorite things and just really priceless to me. And if for some reason the home were to catch fire, I would absolutely grab these and be running out with them. So absolutely love them. So we will walk back this direction a little bit here. So this area is absolutely beautiful to me for a few reasons. One is just absolutely adore the stained glass windows here. They have a lot of special significance. So this window right here, this little half moon shaped window, is actually a depiction of the original daughter of the home, Clara McAlvaine. She was 17 at the time that the house was built. And I can't imagine having my actual face in stained glass, but clearly she was well regarded by her family to be kind of enshrined and live forever in this glass. There is another beautiful piece of glass here. It says diligence right here. I'll be honest, I'm not really exactly sure the significance of this, but I think it's just a beautiful piece. And when the light shines through, just gorgeous, especially in the fall. The warm light shining through here is beautiful. One of the other fascinating pieces of history about this house is that a few owners ago, they actually had really let the house fall into disrepair, and they had sold 3 pieces of stained glass here on the first floor. So they sold Clara, Diligence, and then there's another piece that they sold. And so going back in time, you can see images of when the glass had been removed, and then the previous owner actually tracked them down in Oregon, bought them back, had them restored, and then reinstated in their rightful places. So I am so grateful to have these pieces in the house. They're not just beautiful, but also carry on the story of just the original owners who were here. As far as styling this space, I wanted it to be simple, but also comfortable, elegant, fit with the time of the home. I had been on the search for a long time for a chair and side table that would work here, and had scoured different antique stores, and I could not find exactly what I was looking for to fit this space. So these are actually like antique lookalikes from Wayfair. This is from Hooker Furniture actually, and this chair here I think is just beautiful with the wood carvings. It actually has a little flower motif here that's carved in that really matches the detail in the wainscoting here, so I think it works really well together. I love this little side table. I think the detail on that is also beautiful. One thing that my husband actually makes fun of me about is how many teacups I use to style things in our house. I think he always thinks it looks like someone has either just leapt up out of their chair mid-sip of tea, or I'm just serving tea to the ghost around here. Either way, doesn't bother me. I think they are beautiful and just make things look lived in, cozy, as well as this little chamber stick candle holder as well. I think just beautiful, adds a touch of old world charm and elegance to the space as well. The artwork here, this is very English countryside, equestrian, so I am not a hunter, although when you walk through this house, you would certainly think I'm a pro at hunting because of the amount of hunting images, hunting dogs that we have displayed in the house. Part of that is because when we had visited London, I saw a lot of this artwork, was really inspired by it, thought it was beautiful, and so I've tried to incorporate as much of it into our home as possible to make it feel cohesive. So it's got the little, these are reproductions, found this man on the horse and then these two hunting dogs kind of overlooking the lake, pond, whatever you have there. But just think they're beautiful and work well in this space. Other things that I really think just make this entryway stand out, because it really would have been the first impression that folks had of the home, and so it would have been one of the most elegant spaces, part of really the social choreography of the home to not let everyone into your most intimate spaces yet, so they wanted it to be very beautiful, is just the quarter-sawn white oak wainscoting here with this flower detail. The flower detail, I think I'm neurotic, but they had to have been very intentional about these details as well, because it also carries to places outside of the home, and even in the fireplace carvings, all of it has a nod to flowers. The stained glass that we'll be seeing here in a bit also has a nod to that. So just think it's absolutely beautiful details, and luckily has survived all of these years. Another little detail that I love right here is just the original doorbell. It drives my husband and my dog, I will say, nuts when I ring this, but I do because I think it's really cool. Folks come and don't use it, and I'm like, why did you not ring that doorbell? Like, it's the coolest thing ever. So anyway, I just really like to use it, and think it's cool that it has survived this long. So on the other side of the twin foyer is this little seating nook right here, which is probably one of my favorite places to sit, honestly. So this would have been welcoming guests at the time with a nice little warm fire, particularly in the winter. So it's both functional and aesthetic. These are this is a cherry fireplace. And one of the things that we did when we moved in was restore this mantle. So sometime between around 1910, after the original family had left, and I want to say like the 30s, when this home had been turned into an apartment complex or building, I guess I should say, they actually chopped off this fireplace right here in order to make room for a sink, which there are just like the little ghosts of the sink that have now been fixed as best they can. But they had chopped that off. They discarded it. I think that's criminal that anyone would ever do that. But I initially thought maybe I could just live with it as is and it would become part of the story of the home. And then my perfectionistic side said, no, I've got to do something about this. So we talked to several carpenters, many who said, we can't replicate this, we can't do that because of the amount of hand carving in there. I finally found someone who enlisted a team of, I think, 4 people to replicate this. So this is all hand carved, as well as this capital right here. So just a lot of detail time. I think this whole process took around 3 months to do, just this to here. And you really have to look at this point to figure out where it was chopped off in order to see that it just wasn't always there. So this is original tile. It was made here locally in the 1800s. And I just think it's beautiful. The pattern is beautiful. It has some of my favorite colors in it. Green, this deep burgundy color, and just think it's beautiful. I will sit here sometimes just and either literally have tea. I know I joked about saying I have tea everywhere because I do have a little teacup here. And also this little book. So I found this piece at a local antique store. So I had searched and searched for a table that might fit this little space because it's such a unique little area. It's not standard. Trying to find a modern standard size was a real challenge. So I found this piece and immediately bought it, brought it home, and I think just the detail in it is gorgeous, and the tone of the woodwork, the stain of it just works really well here. This piece of artwork right here taught me a real lesson about if there's something that you find that you love, do not just sit on it, get it, because this popped up on Facebook Marketplace. It was the perfect size for this space, and I deliberated on it for 24 hours, decided I wanted it, went back to message the seller. It had been sold, and I ruminated about that longer than what is healthy. And I just happened to be on scrolling Facebook Marketplace a few months later, and it had been relisted by the person who bought it at a little bit more of an expensive price. And I negotiated with them a little bit because I knew that it had been listed for less, and still paid a little bit more than what it was initially listed for, but did get it and put it here, and I think it just looks beautiful with the space. It also came with the library light above it, and it is just one of my favorite pieces in the house. I believe it was painted sometime around 1940, so I'm just really grateful to have it in the space. To contrast some of the very period elements in this space, so like with the fireplace and the fireplace screen, I wanted to bring a little bit of a modern flair to it, but still a little bit vintage looking with these chairs. I just think they're a beautiful color. I like the deep gold mustard color of them, and just think they complement the different tones that are here very well. Other thing to note here is this chandelier. So this was actually not original to the home. There was actually nothing here, and this space was always very dark. And I walked in, it just looked like a natural place where there would have been a chandelier. So I don't know if maybe there ever was one in its history here, but it just looked like a place where there should be one. And so I actually went to a local antique store, to someone who specializes in antique lighting. And it's one of those stores that you go in that if you're someone who loves to look at antiques, you love, because it's just pathways that you can walk through. It is a hoarder's paradise. And I know him really well at this point, and I showed him a picture of the space and what I was looking for, and he pulls out this thing that looks like a shell, and I'm like, what is this? And he's like, I think this could be a very beautiful piece. I've got all the parts to it, all the pieces of crystal to it. I've just got to put it back together. And he's like, I think it'd be a great piece for it. And so I trusted him, trusted the process, and I think it's just stunning. And the other thing I like about it is it has these really little unique flower shaped crystals as well in it. And so it just really fits with the overall motif of the home. And I just think it's beautiful. Finding this home was an interesting process. I don't think I have ever really manifested anything in my life other than this home. So in December of 2019, my husband and I were actually going to a party right across the street. He had just signed with a hospital here in the area. We were living in Dayton at the time, which is about an hour away. We get out of the car and I look at this house. It was all lit up and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the most beautiful house I have ever seen. And it wasn't for sale at the time, but interestingly, a couple months later in February, I see the listing go up. Now, I was just finishing my postdoctoral training at the time, or actually not even finishing, I was probably halfway through my postdoctoral year, and my husband had just signed with the hospital. We were living downtown, definitely not the right time to be taking on a house of this magnitude. And so I just prayed with everything I had that this house would not sell, because I knew if it sold, whoever bought this house would likely never leave it. And so I sat and watched, and eventually it got taken off the market. We had moved into this neighborhood around August of 2020 in another house. We would walk by it on our walks with our dog, and I would just longingly look at it and like, oh my gosh, I would love to have this house. In 2021, I convinced my husband for us to write a letter to the owner, just saying that if you were to ever sell the house, to please let us know. So I had this very detailed handwritten letter talking about the first time I'd seen the house, and that I would be a good caretaker of the house. I would love to raise our family in this house, and I had known the history of the house. I had read about it, and I got a text message that same day, and he invited us over just to take a look at the house. And I crossed my fingers that my husband would like it, because our styles are slightly different. I have always loved old homes. He probably would have loved to have been in a high-rise downtown, which we were for a bit, but I convinced him to come look at it, hoped that he would love it, and we took probably a 2-hour tour of the house where the owner told us about all the history. He had done a massive renovation, and I was just really taken aback by it. Luckily, my husband also loved it. But the owner told us that he wasn't planning to sell probably, I think at the time he said maybe about 5 years, which we were like, great, that's fine. We'd actually just moved into our other house not that long before that. And he reached out to us a few months later saying, I'm actually accelerating my timeline on moving. So if you are serious about this house, we should probably start having more frequent conversations about it. So for over the course of a year, we were in very frequent contact about the house. And then finally, we had a meeting in the spring of 2022 where we got serious about talking about buying it and the price and everything. We took one last tour of it, ended in the kitchen, talked price, and made a fairly quick agreement on it. And moved in September of 2022 and have been here ever since. And I say I'm only being removed from this house feet first. If I'm channeling little Edie from Grey Gardens, I'm only coming out of this house feet first. So we'll see if that's the case. So welcome to the drawing room. So this would have been where the original family would have received their guest. So probably weren't in here actually drawing, but it's meant to draw folks into the space and be one of the more formal areas of the room. One of the focal points, or the focal point I should say, of the space is this stained glass window. So this window features Anne McAlvaine, who was the original lady of the house. I think it's absolutely stunning. She is actually depicted blowing into a little dandelion. So I don't know if she's making a wish in that frame, but I just think the colors of it, the jewels in it are just absolutely beautiful, irreplaceable. This was actually one of the pieces that was sold a few owners ago that was tracked down and brought back into the home. So I am so grateful that she has found her way back into this home. And anytime I'm doing something in this house, I frequently think, like, I hope she approves of what is happening. So very grateful to have this piece. Everything in this room was then kind of centered around making that the showpiece of it. So I didn't want anything to compete with that, but I wanted it to really complement the glass that was in here. So the velvet couch, this green velvet, I thought tonally worked really well. I have always really wanted a green velvet couch. I'm really inspired by different hotels that we have stayed in and kind of hotel lobbies that often will have a beautiful velvet couch. Functionally, I was worried about having a velvet couch in our space because we do have a dog and a 1-year-old, and I wondered how that would go. So far, it has, let me knock on wood, it has survived and has not been marred, but I think it's gorgeous. I think it is very elegant, but I also tried to add some layers here to make it feel also just comfortable and a little bit more relaxed. So just the deep burgundy William Morris designs print. Also just the wool throw I thought helped just kind of soften it up. This fireplace right here is likely not the original. So sometime after 1910, I would say, someone decided to update this fireplace. So I think it is a beautiful, it's Alhambra tile, which was also a company locally at the time who made beautiful tile. It's often confused with rookwood, but it's not rookwood. I think it was likely made to complement the stained glass, and so it does, and I think it's gorgeous. What probably would have been here originally would have been something that was a very intricately carved piece of mantle, but I still think it's beautiful and part of the story of the house, so I love it. As far as other pieces and kind of design choices in this room, I chose this vintage rug, which I think works really well with the space. I think the colors complement. There's a little bit of olive green in it, which works really well with the couch. And then this glass table, I thought really helped to bring this space into this century, again, so it doesn't look like a period set piece. So I think this works really well. And one of my favorite things in this room is actually this book that's under this cloche. And it's an original Peter and Wendy book that I found in London on Portobello Road. And I just remember we were walking down Portobello Road, found this vendor who was selling original books, and I've always just had a love of Peter Pan, and I can remember being a little kid and seeing the Darling house and thinking like it was a beautiful space and just that big window where they find Peter Pan flying in. I just like, oh, so I was always just kind of in love with that story, saw this book, and immediately wanted it, but then walked away, and then I got about 50 feet away from it and looked at my husband. He's like, you really want that book, right? And I was like, yes, I do. And so we went back because I was afraid it would sell, brought it back here, and I just think it adds a little bit of playfulness to the room. The house tells a story. I think it's cool to have this book that also tells a childhood story here. So just, I think, a cool piece to add a little bit of juxtaposition for how mature the room is, with a little bit of childlike wonder in it too. These equestrian paintings, so trying to find, at some point I would like to find some originals that fit this space and kind of the theme that I want. These here are reproductions, but they fit the space really well. So the chandelier in this space is actually a new chandelier, so this is not original. No one come for me. I did not toss out anything that was original in this house. I actually took what was here and moved it into our son's nursery because the color actually worked better and the scale worked better in there. The scale of what was here just did not fit with this room. And so I saw this chandelier. It felt like something that was grand and would have maybe been like in a hotel lobby, which is part of the feel that I was going for in here. And so I think it's just absolutely beautiful. And when you are walking by at night, you can also see it through the picture window here and get a glimpse of it. And so I just think it's lovely both inside and as you're walking along the street at night. So one of the last details I will just kind of point out is the inlaid flooring. So this flooring is original to the house, and also just this walnut detailing in here I think is just absolutely beautiful and just speaks to the level of detail that the original owners put in and the thoughtfulness that they put into the house. You don't find this in all of the homes around here, so I just think it's a lovely addition. So I have always been interested in interior design and things that are just aesthetically beautiful. I can remember being a little kid, and my grandmother in particular used to decorate really over the top for Christmas and create beautiful tablescapes. I was actually recently going through my phone and found an old picture that I had of one of her tablescapes that she had done. And so I always was attracted to that kind of beauty and creativity. And so I think that's been there for most of my life. And then it really ignited even more when I was in this space, because I love this space so much. It creates a beautiful backdrop for me to really get creative and to kind of exercise those muscles a little bit more. And so it has really been fun, and a fun outlet in contrast to the work that I do full time. So welcome to our dining room. This is my favorite room in the house. One of the things that I think is just really stands out in this room is the wallpaper. So this is a William Morris design. It's an 1870s design, Pimpernel, that he actually had in his own dining room. So when I learned that history, I thought this will work perfectly in our dining room. And I really love the way that it contrasts with the dark cherry wood in this room. And so once I found that, I really kind of knew that I thought this was right for the space. We sat in this room for probably about a year with nothing on the walls, and this just really, the pattern, the playfulness of the flowers, I think just really adds a little bit of a feminine touch to the dark kind of masculine woodwork in the room, and so I think those things play really well together. I wanted wallpaper in this room as well, not because I want wallpaper in every room, but because I think it can really make a statement in this room, and also you can see it from almost every place on this floor. So no matter if you're in the drawing room or in the foyer or in the kitchen or the parlor, you can see this wallpaper, and I think just creates a lot of visual interest. One of the coolest things about this room is also just this buffet, which is huge. So these ceilings are like 12 foot high, and we've got the crown molding up here as well that goes throughout the first floor and part of the second floor that just really, I think, draws your eye to those details. But this buffet has been here, I'm not exactly sure how long, but the previous owner told me that it has just been sold from owner to owner over the years. So it's been here for a long time. It matches the woodwork really well in the house. And I will frequently joke that the house was just built around it because we had to have it moved whenever we were refinishing the floors, and they looked high and low trying to figure out how this thing comes apart. One would think that the top would come off, but there's no evidence of screws there for this or nails, or I mean, you can see nails, but no evidence of screws where this would just like come apart easily. So I'm not exactly sure how it was ever brought into the home. But it is a beautiful piece. It stores, it has a lot of storage, stores all the seasonal dishware, tea sets that I use everywhere, and just love all of the intricate carvings that are part of it. And it also has the original little key to it as well, which I think is a very cool feature and just beautiful in and of itself. And so I love that it has also remained and still lives here with this piece. Over here, we have this cherry fireplace, which to me is just a real showstopper. And when I saw the house for the first time, I think I stood here for probably 10 minutes just taking in all of the details of it. It has these beautiful ornate carvings, and here you can see these griffin carvings here that are just really cool, but there's all sorts of beautiful details here. Again, you've got some of the flower motif happening. The lore of this is that it won an award at one of the World's Fairs. I have no idea if that's actually true or how to verify that, and so I just live with the legend that maybe it did. Either way, I think it's just phenomenally detailed and creates a great backdrop for dinners. This piece is one of the things I'm asked about the most, which is the stag head candelabra. It's sold seasonally at our house, so if anyone else likes it, it's seasonally sold, usually in the fall, winter, but I display it all year round. I think it creates a beautiful ambiance. I think is very masculine feeling. I kind of contrasted that with some of the softness of the flowers here, and also these candelabras that just create some beautiful ambiance as well. With all of the candles that I have in this room, I think my husband thinks that I'm summoning the ghost of the past, or I'm having a seance in this room, and perhaps I am, but I think it just creates a very moody, romantic atmosphere for dinner parties or just for you to enjoy by yourself. So this is another just favorite piece of mine. So this is a newer piece. This is from Hooker Furniture. It has a lot of beautiful detail in it. It has these beautiful flower knobs that I thought really played well with, again, the flower motif in the house. I had been looking for a antique piece that was this size and just could not find the right size for this wall, and then found this with Hooker Furniture, and I think it just looks absolutely gorgeous in this space and has a lot of storage to it. One of the things that is really special to me is this Vitro Gold glassware by Arte Italica. So these are hand painted with 24 karat gold, and it was actually featured on the set of Downton Abbey. And so I just think they're beautiful. I actually do use them as much, so I think they're beautiful, but also want to not just let them sit here and collect dust. So we do use them frequently, and we have guests over. I will pull these out, use them. So far, they have not been broken, but absolutely beautiful pieces. This is here is a reproduction painting, and I wish it was some connection to me or the original family. Trust me, I have searched high and low, gone to the library, every Google search I can think of, every historical document I can think of to look at, trying to find a picture of Thomas McAlvaine, who was one of the original owner, or who was the original owner of the house. Have not been able to find one yet. So hopefully I will find one, and I will have a piece commissioned to display him in this space. But I saw this piece, thought it was beautiful, and just really matched with the flowers on the wall, and just complemented the space very well, and I think just adds a touch of elegance and complements the character really well that's already in this room. The other thing that I will point out here, so there's 3 sets of pocket doors on the first floor. So there's a set in the drawing room, there's a set here, and they have their original keys. Another beautiful just detail about this, and just speaks to the level of thoughtfulness they put into the house, is that they matched each side of the door with the wood that corresponds to the room. So on this side here, you have this beautiful cherry wood, and on the other side, we have this quarter sawn white oak. And so I cannot imagine, like, I feel like I'm detail oriented, but to have the wood on the doors match the surrounding space, I think just shows how much love that they actually had for their spaces and them being beautiful as well. One of the things I like to do is just create seasonal tablescapes and really make them feel layered and intentional and collected. So Williams-Sonoma is one of my go-tos for creating a tablescape. So I have these dishes, I have this little charger, the dinner plate, the salad plate, the appetizer plate. These glasses are also from Williams-Sonoma, and I thought these were just beautiful for summer. And I like to layer in natural living pieces as well, so I just added in some ruscus here. These lemons are real. Maybe I'll make some lemonade after these are on their way out, but just really like to bring in natural elements as much as I can to the table. And then again, just layering in candles. So I have these little oil candles here along with the tapers, and just think they create a lot of romance, moodiness, elegance, and just really elevate the space. This tablescape also just really complements this chandelier here. So this chandelier was in the house when we bought it. I think it is Murano glass. I need to have someone confirm and verify that. But it's a beautiful green. I actually was not necessarily thinking about that when I was picking out the wallpaper, but then once I kind of looked at the wallpaper and was remembering the glass, I was thinking this would really complement it and make it just look like it was here and intentional all along. So welcome to our parlor. One of the things that I really love about this space is the stained glass. So there's this little image of a man and a woman. She's kind of pushing him away in sort of a playful way. So I think it's just a really pretty piece that really creates a focal point for this room. Someone had once suggested, like, oh, maybe you put like a big piece of art above that. And I was thinking, there's no way I'm covering this up. I think it is beautiful and creates just like a natural frame for the room. One of the things about this space too is that at some point in this home's history, whatever was framing this had been removed. And why it was removed, I am not sure, but it looked, when we moved into the house, just like something was off. And so I knew I wanted to frame this out to look kind of like a picture. How I was going to do that, I wasn't really sure, but when we had the carpenter in the house, I talked about my ideas, and so what I really landed on was trying to replicate in a shrunken down version the woodwork that was already in here. So this is really just a shrunken down version of the trim that's in this room, as well as the corner blocks that have this radial kind of design to it, is all things and designs that were already in the home. So I wanted it to look like it had been here all along. Folks do think it's been here all along, and the color also just matches really well. This is a cherry fireplace as well, and it has a double flue. So that's an interesting design element that people are often, I think, confused about, like, why is there a piece of stained glass above the fireplace? Like, how did that work? So that would have been a pretty innovative thing, and to do at that time was to create a double flue that went around the stained glass. It extends up to the second floor as well, but I think was just really something that was meant to create a show-stopping focal point in the room. The tile is Kensington Tile, so again, that's that tile company that was here locally, and it has little kind of vases, floral designs. There's some faces mixed in here, faces on the floor. So just beautiful pieces that have really just stood the test of time. As far as the other pieces in this room, I really wanted it to feel kind of heritage, collected, comfy, yet with some elevations to it as well. So we chose this Chesterfield couch, which I think has a very masculine feel, juxtaposed to this really dark rug. So this is a new rug, but it has a vintage feel to it, and I think just really grounds the space. To kind of create a contrast between some of the older pieces in this room and with the fireplace and architectural elements, I brought in this marble table. So it feels more modern, but also just layered in some things to make it feel collected. So these books, and honestly, one of my favorite little pieces is actually just this horse here. So I found this in an antique shop, and you see things sometimes amidst the clutter and sometimes wonder like, oh, how's that going to look? But I try to imagine it in my own space, and this has become like one of my favorite little pieces. So in addition to the lamps that I'll be running out of here with, I'll probably throw this guy in my back pocket as well. These chairs are also more modern, but they have some kind of nods to antique pieces as well, with the cane backing here, but layered in this plaid pillow here to give it kind of that equestrian Ralph Lauren feel, and just think that they work really well. Another cool piece in this house that was here when we bought it was this chandelier. So it's got this beautiful yellow gold glass in it. I am thinking it may be Murano glass as well. Again, I need someone to really confirm that for me, but I think it's beautiful and just really complements the gold and yellow tones in the stained glass as well. So they work really well together and just adds a lot of elegance and contrast between some of the newer pieces that I have to then some of the old architectural elements as well. Welcome to our kitchen. I think this kitchen has a lot of both beauty and function to it. Some of the things that I love about this kitchen is just the marble countertops. I think they really contrast well and work well with the woodwork in this room. And I think they just really have a timeless feel to them. Other things that I really love about this space is just this little detail here, which is kind of hidden into the side of the refrigerator, is this little piece here that creates some extra counter space. So when we are hosting, having a party, we don't have to crowd the island completely with everything. We can just place some food on here, and folks can kind of walk through, gather their food, make a nice little circle around the kitchen, and then make their way out to the dining room. So this was a really cool, I think, and intentional piece that the previous owner added here. Other things just that I like to do in the kitchen to really kind of cozy it up, soften it up, is to incorporate books. So we have these, these upper, clear glass cabinets. And they sat empty for a while because I had no idea what I wanted to do with them up there. I was like, I know it needs something. It looks like it needs something. It can't just sit empty, but it took me a while to think about what to do with it. And I finally decided just to add in cookbooks. Now, I should probably actually read all of these cookbooks, but I chose ones that I thought were beautiful and that I could actually see myself grabbing at some point as well. So I was going with both beauty and function, but I think they just kind of make it feel a little bit more cozy in the space and lived in. I also incorporated art above the range. Folks will probably come for me about that. But I really just felt like something needed to be here. I think it adds some beauty to this space. I think it just makes it feel a little bit more lived in, cozy. If I'm making something that is going to splatter, I do remove it. And for me, it is not a problem. I do not mind doing that. So I am willing to take the little bit of hassle of moving it in order to have kind of the beauty throughout the year. As far as kind of just the island, I wanted to, seasonally just have some touches that make it feel cozy. So I just have these apples here displayed. I think they just add some color to the room. These are faux apples, by the way, but they look pretty dang realistic. I used to put real apples in here, and then the amount that I needed to fill this bowl all the time, I'm like, this is not sustainable long term. So I just think they add a nice little pop of color to the space, because there is a lot of brown in here, and so I think it just kind of helps add a little bit of color. I also like having the vase and just the natural elements kind of brought in. So these are kind of some seasonal transitional stems that I think add some beauty. And I would love to say that I spent all sorts of time this morning cooking up these lovely raspberry scones, but these were brought in from a local bakery. I do like to make scones, but I did not make these. But I think they're very beautiful. And when folks come over, I do like to have something on display that you can grab and eat. So that's like a small charcuterie board or a scone, some other dessert. I like to have something on display when folks are here and can snack on. So the other thing just to point out about this space is this light. So this is a vintage light from the 1950s. It was made in San Francisco. And I just think it's really pretty, works really well in the room. It has these beautiful gold leaf details. I think prior to being here, it actually was on a historic home's front porch, but I think it looks beautiful in this space and just adds kind of a touch of elegance to this room. The style of the home is obviously reads very Victorian because it is. It has a lot of the original features still here. I knew that I did not want the house to look like you were walking into a period set piece. I wanted it to honor the time period of the home without looking like you were walking onto a set of Downton Abbey necessarily. So I tried to infuse a little bit of old pieces along with new. I would say my overall style leans very traditional with an English countryside, equestrian bend to it. So as we go through the house, you will see a lot of nods to the past, but also things that I think bring it into the present as well. And through our artwork and just personal items that you will find very traditional and old world, English countryside inspired. The dining room is definitely one of my favorite spaces because I love to entertain. The dining room is very elegant. It was certainly built to entertain. The fireplace in that room is gorgeous. I love the wallpaper in that room. So there's a lot of memories we have already made in that room. And I also think about the stories and the conversations that have likely occurred in that room over the years. I mean, I think back, this house was, built before, World War I. So I'm thinking about, just the different wartime conversations that would have occurred in this house and just different events in history. And so I think just having that connection in that room and knowing that's likely where a lot of those conversations have occurred, and now we are adding to those conversations and that history, I think makes it my favorite room. All right, so let's go ahead and head upstairs and I'll show you the bedrooms. So welcome to our office and guest room. This is a top contender for my favorite space in the house. I absolutely love this room, and it was just recently almost completed, I will say. One of the things that I love about it is just this wallpaper. So this was not original to the home. When we first moved in, there was not wallpaper in here. And I knew I wanted to create an office space that felt collected, that felt like it could be like an English manor. When we had gone to like the English countryside, I remember seeing like tartan plaid wallpaper and just thought it was beautiful, felt like a gentleman's retreat or a place where you could just sit and smoke a pipe. Even though I don't smoke a pipe, I feel like I could put a smoking jacket on in here and do that. So I absolutely love this. I think it adds a lot of moodiness and just complements the character of the room so much. I did not realize at the time how much this wallpaper would complement the existing woodwork in the room. So there's this beautiful brown in this wallpaper that works so well with the fireplace, and I think just looks great together. This fireplace also has a lot of beautiful carvings in it. The tile surround is also original. It is Kensington tile, as well as like most of the tile in the house. The colors, I think, work really well with the wallpaper in the space. The other thing that I did just with the mantle to really give it that library feel, that collected feel, was to add just some books here that I thought complemented the tone and colors of the wallpaper really well. So this is just a really cool piece. This is a leather writing cap from the 1920s that I thought just could play well with the details in this space. And then I added in these are actually just from Pottery Barn. They look really old, but they are just these little Labrador dogs, bookends, that I think are very cute and work well with the mood and vibe of the space. So one of the pieces, the first antique pieces that we bought was this bookcase. And this is an antique that was actually made in Cincinnati. So in terms of proximity to where we live, Cincinnati is really close. We can actually see the skyline from here. It's really nearby. So, and actually the original owner's business was in downtown Cincinnati. So it was great proximity to the home. So this piece I think is just beautiful. And what I've been doing is trying to slowly add pieces that are very meaningful to me. A couple things that I have found that are in relation to the home is a receipt from the McAlveen and Spiegel Boiler and Tank Company, which was the original owner's business that he started in the 1860s. So I display that in this cabinet. There's also a image that I found of the business as well that I display here, and just some other things that I think are cool. There's a little box from our wedding. We'd had a design made for our wedding, a little stamp made that's on the top of this box that I display too, and it has our vow books in it. So just some personally meaningful things, in addition to collections of old books and little knickknacks that I found. So this is in no way, shape, or form complete yet, but it's getting there. These drapes are one of the things that I think added the most kind of drama to this room and just really made it feel more complete and finished. So I went with this chocolate brown velvet curtain. I think it felt period appropriate and just very romantic. I just have like a little slight puddle here. the other thing that's interesting about trying to measure for this window is the fact that the way these windows are made are really meant for the aesthetics from the outside, not taking into account how they fit against the wall on the inside. So this window goes almost up to the edge of the other wall here. So traditionally you might have the bar extend, 8 inches or beyond from, the curtain, but that was not possible here. So had to get a little bit creative with how we did that. So we got this nice little swoop here. And one of my favorite things as well is just these little dog curtain tie backs. I found these actually by someone on Etsy, and they are heavy. They have a very beautiful detail to them, and I think just really stand out whenever you come into this room. You can see them very well. They're very visible, and I think just create a cool conversation piece as well. People are like, where did you find those? And then moving over here, I have these, again, you might think I am an expert at hunting, which I am not, but found these prints of hunting dogs. Again, these are equestrian photos or paintings, and just thought that they worked really well in the space. So I incorporated them. I think it gives it more of a heritage collected feel. This desk is new, but also I think looks like it could have been here for a long time. I had been looking for an antique desk and just could not find one that worked with the scale of the room well enough. So I finally went online looking, and this is from Hooker Furniture. A lot of their pieces are very, very well made and just have a lot of beautiful design, intricate designs in them. So this is a favorite for me, and when I am home working, is where I sit and do my work, and just think it works really well. It's both beautiful and functional. And then this bed was actually something that I thought I was originally going to swap out for something else. So we have owned this iron bed for a while now, and I originally thought I wanted something that was wood and had a nice kind of beautiful back to it. But once I started kind of coming up with the design and the feel of this room, I thought that's actually going to cover quite a bit of the window and might actually not work super well. I kind of like that this is more open. You get the light in from the window, and I just think it complements a lot of the brown that's already going on in this space. So I think that the black can be very grounding. I did go with the tonal brown comforter, but then layered in some other pieces to complement the wallpaper in the room, but not compete with it. So these velvet navy pillows and this brown and navy pillow. I don't think you have to have 50 pillows on your bed. No shame to anyone who loves that. I just know that I need to be a little bit more minimal in it, because it is, at night, I then have a mountain of pillows next to me. So I think you can go fairly simple and it still look more elevated. At the end of the bed, just have this nice navy wool throw that just, again, pulls out some of the tones in the wallpaper. I don't sit and drink on the job, or really drink much at all for that matter, but I just layered in this tray on top of this trunk just because I thought it made it feel more lived in, inviting, cozy. Again, just gives it some of that like old, maybe gentleman's club, parlor, smoking room feel to it. So layered this in as well. This trunk is an antique that we initially were, when we had it in this room before, didn't really love the way it looked, but now with everything in here together, I think it's beautiful and just complements the space, works super well in here. And then just a nice neutral soft rug underfoot here to really just ground the space and not compete with some of the other patterns in the room. So this little corner I really love. So this phone is a antique, and actually this whole kind of corner is maybe a little bit of an homage to my father-in-law, because he found it and thought it would look great in our house. So I held on to it in storage for a little while because I wasn't sure exactly where it was going to fit, where it would go, but I think it looks beautiful here, kind of in the foreground of this oil painting. So this painting is one that I had actually taken a picture of in Ralph Lauren when I was in their store in New York a couple of years ago. I'd taken a picture of it because I loved it, and I had kind of a vision for what this room might eventually look like, and I thought this kind of style of painting would look great in here because of the colors in the jacket and this tie. And I found a company, it's called Handmade Piece, that actually does oil painting reproductions. Like, they're hand painted, they're not just printed, they're hand painted, and they actually frame it as well. This frame is very heavy. I am always afraid that it's going to somehow fall off the wall. I had it professionally hung, but I'm still always afraid it's going to fall because it is such a heavy piece. It's really hard to find this level of detail in a frame these days if it's not antique. So just, I think, a gorgeous painting. And you can also see it from the street as you're walking kind of up the hill to our house. So I think it's just a cool and very elegant touch to the space. So this is our primary bedroom. Some of the things I really love about this room is this chandelier. So this chandelier is not original to the home, but it is one that came from the Drake Hotel in Chicago. And so I just think it's a beautiful piece. It has these nice little angel figures that adorn it that I think are beautiful. One of the other things about this space actually is this fireplace. So it is a cherry fireplace. This tile was actually shellacked over whenever we moved in, and it had a very yellow cast to it. And I knew that it had to be white underneath there, and so I used some acetone, got it off, and it just really shines, and the contrast between the white and the deep burgundy, I think, is beautiful. As far as this pieces in the room, so the bed is from CB2. It is has some rattan in it, which I think has a kind of a nod to the historic feel, but also the lines of it feel more modern. So it's really kind of that juxtaposition between old and new. And then this rug, I think, just really helps to ground the space. There's a lot of gold in the room, and the darker tones, I think, just work really well to complement what's in here. This mirror is another one of my favorite pieces. So we bought this from the previous owner. It sat in this room because, one, I didn't know where else we would put it, and it's so dang heavy, but it's from the Fox Theater that was in San Francisco that was torn down, but it just has some incredible detail in it. It's also functional because I can look at myself in the morning after I've gotten ready, make sure things all look good together. But just a very heavy, beautiful piece. Some other cool, just historic details in this room and really throughout the house are these transom windows. So the hardware is still here, and this one is actually broken. I have the pieces that have been salvaged in the basement that I plan to get them all back working again. These still do move, if I can, yep, there we go. Get it to move. They still all move, but those would have helped with airflow when the original family lived here. They didn't have central air and heating. It would have helped move air through the house. So I think those are just really cool that they're still here. They've got the wavy glass in them. And then also just throughout the house, the detail in the hardware is just beautiful, as well as the skeleton key. So we've got the original keys that are still here to a lot of the rooms, which I think is amazing as well. And The last little detail that I'll point out is just like the panels in the doors. So I recently learned this, and this was an intentional design. So on the first floor, there are 8 panels in the doors, and then as you go up the house, they remove them by 2. So this floor, the second floor, has 6 panels. The third floor has 4. So I think the idea is that as we get higher in the house, we're going to have less people viewing those spaces, so we're going to scale it back a little bit with each floor. One other just detail in the house, I think this would have been where the original owners would have been, because they incorporated this beautiful piece of stained glass into the room. It kind of makes me feel like kind of an old church vibe in here as well. I think it's beautiful with the green tones, which is part of why I chose the green drapes in here as well. I think just to really pull the green out of the stained glass, but I think it just really contributes overall to the mix of old and new that you'll find in this space. So this is our bathroom right off of our bedroom. I think this bathroom really just has a very timeless, classic feel to it. So we have the marble countertops with the cherry cabinetry. There's this really large soaking tub, which I think is great, and I actually do enjoy and sit and soak in this. And right next to the tubs are these beautiful leaded glass windows. So they create some nice privacy, but also have a lot of beauty to them as well. So I just think it works really well with the tones that are also in the marble. It all complements each other very well. It feels kind of like you're in an English manor with the cut glass as well. And then just the glass shower, I think, is also just timeless. The polished nickel hardware, and again, the marble in the shower, I think all just work really well together to create a nice, peaceful place to relax and take a bath. So welcome to the nursery. So we have a little 1-year-old, and his nursery was one of my favorite projects to work on. I really wanted this to feel like a vintage storybook setting, almost like you had walked into maybe like Christopher Robin's bedroom or something. I remember poring over books as a kid and just thinking, oh, how cool it would be to live inside one of those stories. So that's what I was trying to recreate in this space. There is this beautiful oak fireplace here and mirror above that just, I think just feels really beautiful and elegant, and I love the colors. I think this could have been maybe one of the children's rooms in with the original family because of the colors. They just feel a little bit more playful, a little bit more childlike in nature. I didn't want it to feel themed in here with any particular story, so I've got elements from multiple storybooks in here. So Winnie the Pooh is one that I lean pretty heavily on. So just have this little vintage Pooh kind of set up here, and just some little soft additions with the bows on the candles here. And on this chalkboard over here, I really wanted to have a space where he could eventually hang some of his own art, some of his own things that he thinks are really cool. So for right now, I've just added things that I think are beautiful. So I've got just different images from storybooks. You'll find Peter Pan, Mary Poppins, Winnie the Pooh, Peter Rabbit, all sorts of different stories represented there that I just think were some of my own favorites growing up, and so incorporated them in here. Just this little Peter Pan quote above the bed, and some navy bedding just to really ground the space, and just this sweet little teddy bear, I think. It's really cute. I searched high and low for this lamp. No one would guess how much time I spent looking for this and scouring the internet, because I'd seen this a long time ago online, and then by the time we were having a child, it was gone. And so I found this piece as one of my favorite pieces that I found for this room, and just really love it. And also this little child holding these candlesticks, I just think are a sweet nod to the historic nature of this house. So I didn't want this room to feel like it was just frozen in time as a kid's space. I want it to be able to grow with him over time. So we did incorporate this bed into the nursery. And this is actually from Garnet Hill, but it feels like an heirloom piece. It is solid wood. It has a lot of beautiful carvings in it, intricate woodwork. The rattan backing and the headboard, I think, is also just beautiful. It's a bed I feel like you could find in an old storybook if you're poring over those pages. So I really wanted something that could live with him. And honestly, if he ever wanted to take this bed with him, like, have at it. I really wanted it to be kind of an heirloom piece that could grow with him and not just feel like it was for a moment. This chair I spent a lot of time in, rocking him at night, feeding him his last little bottle in the evening. And I just think it has a very cozy, classic feel to it. I do try to keep it looking fairly like this most of the time. It can be a challenge, but I'm always up for it. So I have just some beautiful kind of real flowers here displayed, the soft kind of Peter Rabbit here, because there are some hard features in the room with all the architecture of woodwork. So I just really kind of wanted to soften up the space and make it feel a little bit more dreamy. I layered in this little teddy bear, which actually came from Harrods. So this was our trip to London was our last trip before we had our son. And when we were in Harrods, found this little teddy bear, thought it could work beautifully in his room, and just wanted to be able to incorporate a piece of some of our pre-baby life into his room and into his world, so he knows that we were always thinking of him even before he was here, and just think it's a nice little layer and touch. This little guy I get a lot of questions about. So this little bird looks kind of, I don't know, in my mind, I think he feels a little bit mischievous maybe too. Maybe some of the mischievous that you might find in a little kid, but I thought it was playful, whimsical, kind of played well with the other storybook elements in the room. So I incorporated this. These books were actually a gift from the previous owner for our son. So these were books from his childhood, and he actually gifted those to us for our son whenever he was born, and I thought that was great. We have had a great relationship and maintain contact still, and I just thought that was very sweet and wanted to incorporate those into his room, and works really well with the aesthetic that we're going for. Home to me is really, I think, a reflection of just who you are. I think home tells a story about who you are, and home is also a place where you create memories, and the home holds memories. And so we are part of a long line of different families that have been in the house and now creating our own memories here. So I think we're now part of that story. So I think home tells a story. It's a reflection of you, and also holds the memories and stories that you create here.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.